The SpongeBob movie Sponge on the Run, the Junior Novelization. Chapter 19. SpongeBob and Patrick stumbled onto the stage, shoved from behind by the stage manager. They stood there in silence, staring out at the audience staring back at them. They tried playing pat a cake, slapping their hands together. They ended by making fart sounds with their hands in their armpits. Silence. "Patrick," SpongeBob whispered, "let's give him our old song from camp." "We'll always be true to you, Camp Coral," Patrick whispered back. "No," SpongeBob whispered. "Aka waka maka mia." "Oh, right," Patrick said, grinning. They launched into the song they'd won the Campy Award with all those years ago. They sang, they danced, they did patty cakes, they bumped butts, and they built to a big finish, striking a pose with their arms stretched wide open. Silence. But then, laughter. The audience was roaring with laughter. And up in his box seat, so was King Poseidon, laughing and applauding. The ruler shouted, "Bravo!" Patrick and SpongeBob spotted him. But then the king caught a glimpse of himself in a mirror and gasped, "Laugh lines! Chancellor, get me my—" Before the king could even finish his command, Chancellor rushed over with Gary, who meowed. Poseidon took Gary and rubbed him against his face. "Gary!" SpongeBob and Patrick cried. They jumped off the stage and leapt from table to table, making their way toward the king's balcony box. "Gary, I'm coming, buddy!" SpongeBob shouted, hopping across the audience members' tables. "Excuse me, sorry, my bad." To reach Poseidon's box, Patrick stood on a lounge patron's head, and then SpongeBob stood on Patrick's head. SpongeBob managed to peek over the railing of the balcony box. Poseidon looked alarmed, but SpongeBob spoke. "Hi there," he began. "Excuse me, King Poseidon, sire, but there's been a misunderstanding about Gary." Poseidon seemed confused and offended. "Gary? Gary," SpongeBob repeated. "Meow," Gary said. "Gary?" Poseidon asked again, still not knowing who SpongeBob was talking about. "The snail you're rubbing all over your face right now," SpongeBob explained. King Poseidon looked at Gary. "Nonsense," he said. "The snail's name is Fred." Now it was SpongeBob's turn to look confused. "Fred? You renamed Gary?" "Fred," Poseidon said. "Gary," SpongeBob said, reaching for a snail. "Fred! Gary! Fred! Gary! Fred! Gary!" Throughout the argument over Gary's name, SpongeBob and Poseidon had a tug of war with Gary, pulling him back and forth. Finally, SpongeBob lost his grip and fell back down to the tables, taking Patrick and the lounge customer with him. Whump! Poseidon pointed over the edge of the balcony at SpongeBob and Patrick. "Seize them!" Guards quickly grabbed SpongeBob and Patrick. "Gary! Gary!" SpongeBob called to his snail friend. "Gary loves me, and I love him!" "Meow!" Gary agreed as the guards hauled SpongeBob and Patrick away. Back in Bikini Bottom, Sandy sped up to SpongeBob's house on a rocket-powered sled. Zoom! She knocked on the door, but no one answered. Letting herself in, she looked around and saw no sign of her friend. "Hello?" she called out. "SpongeBob!" "Get your co-pilot goggles, dude, 'cause we're going sledding." "SpongeBob? Hello?" She looked in SpongeBob's shower. "SpongeBob?" She looked in his refrigerator. "Hey, you in here?" Splat! An unrecognizable piece of food collapsed. "Whoa!" Sandy said, backing away. She looked in his bedroom. "SpongeBob?" A framed picture of herself and SpongeBob as children at Camp Coral sat on the dresser. She picked up the picture and studied it, remembering those happy days. Sandy wiped a tear from her eye, then got a determined look on her face. In the Krusty Krab, Mr. Krabs glumly flipped menus into a wooden barrel. Squidward read a fan magazine about his favorite clarinetist, Kelpie G. Sandy burst in through the front door. "All right," she barked. "What'd y'all do with SpongeBob?" Squidward looked up from his magazine. "We don't know where he is, Sandy. He hasn't been here in days." Sandy wasn't buying it. Don't you play coy with me, Cephalopod," she snapped at Squidward. Then she turned to Mr. Krabs. "And you, Arthropod? Start talking. Where is he? Tied up in the basement? Stuffed in your trunk?" Mr. Krabs shook his head sadly. Nay, I could never harm the lad. His absence has taught me that much. But I'm not talking about the money. I'm losing with him gone. Well, maybe I'm talking about that a little. Okay, 50% talking about the money, and 50% I truly miss the boy. I hate to admit it, Squidward said, but things just aren't the same without him. There's no denying it, Mr. Krabs agreed. We need SpongeBob. Did anyone ever stop to think he might need us? Sandy asked. Right in that moment, a news report came on the TV. Perch Perkins, said a reporter, coming to you lost from the lost city of Atlantic City. He stood right in front of Poseidon's palace, speaking into a microphone. He gestured to the ornate building behind him. I'm sitting outside Poseidon's palace and casino, where 2 suspects have been taken into custody tonight after trying to attack the royal snail. The screen showed mugshots of SpongeBob and Patrick and a picture of Gary sitting on a beautiful silk cushion. Then a video of SpongeBob and Patrick performing Aka Waka Maka Mia started playing. The Sponge and Sea Star were impersonating a lounge act, the reporter continued, when they made an attempt on Poseidon's prized mollusk. The TV showed Poseidon rubbing Gary on his face. It's Gary! Mr. Krabs, Sandy, and Squidward all cried. In a related story, Perch Perkins went on, Poseidon's Palace and Casino presents a command performance featuring the execution of the suspects in the Aqua Lounge this Friday night. Mr. Krabs jumped to his feet, outraged. Execution of the suspects? He sputtered. What happened to Habeas Swordfish? It's a fun-filled family event with opening at Kelpie G, Perch Perkins said cheerfully. 1 performance only, tickets still available. We gotta go help them, Sandy said. We embark immediately, Mr. Krabs agreed. Mr. Squidward, are you coming? Ha! Fat chance, Squidward said. Then he added, Fat chance I miss the Kelpie G performance. I'm in! To the Pattymobile, Mr. Krabs bellowed. Stay tuned for Chapter 20 coming up soon.